Hey, how's it going, everyone? Tazen here, and today I want to talk about do you or have you ever pre ordered or purchased a console on release? So, have I ever? No, I've actually never pre ordered or purchased a console on release ever in my life. I've actually gotten all my consoles, I'd say about at least a year after they've come out. And I'd probably say most of them are several years, even more than, just a few years. But the PS4 I got about a year or so after. But yeah, in terms of why I haven't, here are several reasons why I haven't. Maybe some of you experience or haven't purchased or avoid purchasing games on release because of these reasons. Maybe not. I guess it all depends at the time which reasons are sort of affect me more and why I make that decision not to. But kicking things straight off with number one, and that is the cost. Obviously, when consoles come out, they're generally the most expensive they ever will be in that life cycle of that console. And when I say cost, I don't just mean that, the console is coming out and it's a lot of money and I can't afford it because, as we all know, consoles do cost quite a lot of money. But, like I was saying, comparatively to how much they essentially drop in price, and although I guess Nintendo drop a bit slower than others, but consoles do generally go down quite a bit over time, and I'd say within the first, or by about 12 months or so, or at least by the Christmas if a console comes out early in a year, it's generally at least cheaper enough, or comes in a bundle or so to make it cheap. So that leads me on to the second reason, obviously bundles. I've noticed when consoles come out at launch, or at least maybe more so nowadays, they don't come bundled with a game. And when I say bundled with a game, I'm talking about not just a separate game that you get, discounted with that. I mean an actual sort of like the Splatoon bundle for the Wii U is actually I guess, themed console to Splatoon, or at least the box was, with everything, all in the box. And I feel like, as time goes on, we generally see this with games down the track. With the PS4, we saw like, let's see, the Destiny bundle come out, with the white PS4 console and stuff like that. Not only is the consoles a bit cheaper, but it works out a lot cheaper getting the game in it than getting the game separately. Stuff like with the Switch, I would have loved to have seen a Zelda bundle with the console, and not necessarily meaning that, if you buy the Switch console, you can get the game separately and it's quite cheaper together. I mean, an actual one with the game boxed in, maybe you get like a little art book or something with it. Something that actually would have made it feel like a proper Breath of the Wild bundle. And this leads me on to the third reason why I generally don't pre-order or purchase games on releases, and that is because of special edition consoles that come out down the track. And this ties into bundles. What I was saying with the Zelda Breath of the Wild is that it would have been cool to get like a special edition Switch console, which is actually themed the console itself after Zelda. Great examples of this are like the Star Wars Battlefront PS4, the Uncharted 4 PS4, seeing things like, the Final Fantasy 15 Slim PS4, stuff like that. We didn't get that at launch. We generally just got, standard black PS4. Same goes with the Xbox One. Down the track, we started seeing things like the Gears of War, Xbox One S, the Battlefield, was it Battlefield 4 or something, Xbox One S, and, multiple different consoles that are actually not skin, but actually, they actually have all the artwork and everything printed onto the console. And, I think this is something that I love. I love to sort of get special editions and stuff like that. But even color consoles, or different color variants. And this leads me on to the next reason. As time goes on, we don't just get the stock color, we do get different colors. So I'm just going to use the PS4 as my most recent example. I'd say it was about 10 months or so after I'd say about 10 months or so after the PS4 first launched, we finally got a white PS4. And this is the one I got. I got it bundled with Destiny, but I actually got it because I wanted the white PS4. And I wanted to wait for that because I wasn't so much a fan of the black one, especially seeing a lot, the fingerprint marks were quite noticeable and stuff like that. Again, these are sort of nitpicking things, and it's not that I'm like, because of this, I don't want to get a console at launch. I'd say it's always, depending on the console and stuff, it's a little bit of every reason. But obviously talking about the white PS4 console leads me on to another reason, and for me this is probably one of the most important reasons I have never gone to console at launch, and that is due to the hardware faults and stuff in initial consoles. And I'm not saying that they all come out with hardware issues and stuff, but generally, I mean, there's no better way to find out issues with a console than to have, hundreds of thousands and, millions of people be playing a brand new console in its first year of launch, and then all these issues popping up and stuff like that. This is how these companies obviously are able to find some of these issues that maybe they didn't come across or didn't expect to happen so soon in their consoles. And we saw this with the going right back to the PS2, we saw issues with that, stuff with the lens burning out and things like that. And there were various revisions, and although the PS2s did look the same up until the Slim, there was maybe about 5 different at least model variations internally and stuff. And then same with the Slim model, we saw that too. We had the 7000 series, I think then we had the 7500 series. There were more issues in the 7700, which I believe is the best version and stuff like that. Then the 7900, there's some BIOS changes. Going on with the Xbox One, there was stuff where the discs were just getting churned up inside and stuff like that, or scratched, but basically getting stuck inside. PS4, there were overheating and bricking issues happening. And then when the white PS4 came out, that was actually the next model iteration. So the first one was the 1000 model, and the next one was the 1000, I think it was the 1100 model, I believe. And then they got the 1200 model, which had some more energy efficiency and stuff, of 250 grams lighter or so. And then they went to the Slim. But I was so happy to have waited and then gotten one that sort of, they worked to fix some of these issues. And it doesn't necessarily mean that these issues are fixed, but they're much less likely. And actually, I should mention one of the prime examples of a console coming out with hardware issues and serious hardware issues is the Xbox 360 with the red ring of death. And obviously, although this is something that it's a hardware issue that, probably still occurs even up to the final Xbox 360 model, it's much less prominent and probably could happen much later on, or it's more likely to happen much later on in that console's life than sooner. And I want to make sure that I'm investing in a console that I know that I will be able to use for a long time to come. So I think for me that is a very important reason, going on from hardware to software. And that is, consoles when they come out, the operating or the user interface isn't necessarily complete. And when I say complete, obviously they're always updating the operating system from the beginning until the end of its life cycle, but there's obviously a lot of significant things that are missing. A great example with the Nintendo Switch coming out, it's missing Virtual Console. And I think this is a staple thing of Nintendo's sort of digital platform, is the Virtual Console. So I love waiting and then seeing some of these things come out, I feel like that's important, major applications and stuff that are missing. Nintendo's still hasn't got the, with the share button, it still hasn't got the actual game capture implemented into it yet, at least for consumers to use. And then going on from, the user interface software, video game software, and that is the launch or the initial library of consoles. When consoles come out, I'm generally not attracted to many of the, or if any of the games at launch. There are occasions where I do, one game comes out, for example, again with the Switch, Breath of the Wild, awesome. Things like the 64, Super Mario 64, stuff like that. We see a lot of these things. But for me, and I know Awesome Stuff HD has mentioned this too, and this is something I've always sort of felt, along the lines of this, and that is I always like to wait for several, I'd say at least 3 to 5, maybe 5's a bit much, but at least 3 titles that I'm generally interested in on the system to be out before I purchase that system. Now, obviously, people can say, or people may feel that, yes, well, there's one game on it, like Breath of the Wild, they want to get it, and when purchasing a console, you are purchasing it for all the games that are to come too, and I think that's fine. For me, though, excuse me, I am most excited to play a console when I get it, and as such, I want to be able to have these games available to me so I can get straight into one or several of them at that one time. So look at the Switch, I'd like to say Breath of the Wild, Splatoon and Mario Kart 8, as well as Super Mario Odyssey. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I would love, the moment that is out, I will have a Switch. Whether I will wait until that, I'm not sure. Odyssey might be the calling for me. I'll see how it goes. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I count as a half game because it's a port of Mario Kart 8, so that and Splatoon alongside Breath of the Wild, I won't count as the minimum of 3 for me. But still, that is another thing to consider. Another reason that I also love to wait, and this is more of a reason I'd say is a bit more exclusive to Nintendo, at least handhelds per se, and that is XL models or larger models. So the 3DS, I always had the feeling that like the DS and DSi, there would be an XL model, and I like to have a screen that at least is as big as possible. So I did wait, and then the XL came out and I got it. I'm hoping we might see that with the Switch as well. Again, may not happen. Hopefully it does happen, because I would definitely get that straight away. This is something that generally doesn't apply to PS4 and Xbox, except now we're seeing its sort of own version of like a 0.5 update in a way with the like the PS4 Pro, Xbox Scorpio. I can't comment too much on that yet because this is sort of a new thing, and I haven't got it in PS4 Pro, and Xbox Scorpio is not out yet. So again, that will all depend on my thoughts after I were to purchase one of those, if I do. And the last and final reason for me is hard drive space. Now, we're seeing a lot of things go digitally. We're seeing a lot of games have install bases, at least disk-based games. And to me, it's very important to have a hard drive that is essentially future-proofed, at least enough that I can comfortably, purchase a good amount of games over time and be able to have them all installed, save files, everything, including some game capture footage on the console itself, without having that fear of always having to juggle things and remove it, like I'm having with the PS4 currently. So this is something, obviously there are alternatives now. We're seeing things with the, the Switch, we're seeing micro SD support. With the Xbox and PS4 soon to come, we are getting external hard drive support. These are great, but for me, preferably, I would love to have all the hard drive space built into that console. And, instead of going through the hassle of upgrading internal hard drive and having to get everything backed up onto an external hard drive to then put on the next hard drive, although these things are doable, it is somewhat of a hassle sometimes. And I think, sometimes even waiting just to, for example, we saw with the PS4, within about 2 years, we finally saw it go from the 500 gig to the 1 terabyte. Now, by no means is 1 terabyte enough for everyone, but still it's enough that at least it gives more comfort than it would with a 500 gig hard drive, where, we're seeing games go up to like 50, 60 gigs, per install base and stuff, DLC expansion packs added on. So that's always another thing. So yeah, they're all my reasons, why I haven't purchased or pre-ordered, a console on release. Like I said, it's not for any one particular reason, and it's not necessarily strongly for one or another. It's always a bit of each. Again, maybe a future situation would arise and, things will just feel right to me and I will get something on release. But for the time being, I'm happy to wait and get an awesome console down the track. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Have you ever pre-ordered or purchased a console on release? If so, some of the reasons why. Maybe, there was a console that came out that you've been anticipating for so long. Maybe it had a game that you wanted to play. Maybe it did come out with a launch sort of special edition or something. And if you haven't, let me know some of your reasons why. Be awesome here. Maybe you share some of the opinions that I do. Maybe you have your own different reasons as to why you haven't. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing, and until next video, stay spot on.